Welcome to episode 118 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's February 26, 2010, and today's story does not begin with a kickoff. It begins with a filing at the High Court and with a word that sounds technical, almost harmless, until it lands on a football club like a wrecking ball. Administration. Portsmouth Football Club, Pompey, have just become the first Premier League club to go into administration. A club with a proud badge, a loud old ground at Fratton Park, and a fan base that knows what real football culture feels like. And now they're insolvent. So how does a club in the richest league in the world end up here? What actually happens when a club goes into administration? And what did football learn, if anything, from the day the Premier League discovered that TV money doesn't make you invincible? So let's go back, because the road to administration is rarely a single bad decision. It's usually a system. And in England, that system changed forever in 1992, when the Premier League was born and football stepped onto a financial escalator that has never stopped moving. Broadcast money surged, global audiences arrived, wages followed, transfer fees followed, agent fees followed. And clubs didn't just compete on the pitch, they competed in ambition. The new logic was seductive. Spend now, survive later. Reach the Premier League and you'll be saved. Stay in the Premier League and you'll be rewarded. Qualify for Europe and you'll be transformed. But the escalator goes both ways, because the costs don't disappear when results do. And no club embodied the boom and bust temptation quite like Portsmouth in the 2000s. Pompey weren't supposed to be a project. They weren't a global super brand. They weren't in a city of 8 million. And they didn't have a stadium printing matchday income like a modern arena. But they had something else, momentum, and owners willing to chase a dream. Promotion to the Premier League in 2003, then a period where Portsmouth started behaving like a club that belonged at the top table, big names, big wages, and big swings. And for a while, it worked. Portsmouth's peak moment is unforgettable, the 2008 FA Cup, a major trophy and a ticket into Europe. But here's the trap in modern football finance. Success can hide the cracks while making them deeper, because success encourages spending, and spending becomes structural. Wage bills don't come down easily. Contracts don't shrink because form drops. And if your model depends on an owner constantly filling the gap, then the club isn't really stable. It's being carried. And when the carrying stops, gravity returns fast. And by the end of the decade, Portsmouth were a club with too many moving parts and not enough control. Ownership changes, mounting debts, cash flow problems, and a team fighting at the wrong end of the table. The warning lights were already flashing before February 2010. Winding up petitions, tax issues, anxiety that wasn't just sporting, it was existential. And now we arrive at February 26. At 10:20 in the morning, Portsmouth are placed into administration. But what is administration? Think of it as football's emergency room. A club enters a formal insolvency process, and administrators appointed to take control of the business, assess what can be saved, and decide whether the club can be rescued as a going concern, or whether it must be broken up and sold. It's meant to stop the chaos from becoming a stampede. Creditors are held at bay, decisions are centralized, and the club is put into triage. But football adds its own layer, sporting punishment. In the Premier League, administration triggers an automatic points deduction. For Portsmouth in 2010, it is 9 points, a penalty that turns survival into almost pure fantasy. And here's what made that season feel so unreal. Even as Portsmouth collapsed financially, the team keeps playing. There's a manager trying to keep the squad focused, players wondering if they'll be paid, staff wondering what happens next week, and supporters showing up because walking away feels like surrendering the club itself. And somehow, impossibly, Portsmouth even produce a cup run in the middle of the wreckage. It's one of football's strangest truths. The pitch can still create drama while the institution behind it is falling. But administration is never just a story of one club's mismanagement. It's also a mirror held up to the sport. Because Portsmouth weren't the first club to go into administration, not even close. In the Football League, administration had already been a recurring play. Clubs chasing promotion, overspending, missing targets, and a tumbling into insolvency when the math broke. And if you zoom further back, the pattern is older than the Premier League itself. Accrington Stanley, the original club, resigned from the Football League in 1962 after financial collapse. That's not relegation, that's disappearance. And across world football, the names are famous. Clubs refounded, reborn, phoenixes rising from the ashes, sometimes because of reckless spending, sometimes corruption, sometimes broken ownership, sometimes the simple reality that football culture can outgrow football economics. So the so what of Portsmouth is not simply they went into administration. The so what is what their collapse exposed. That even the Premier League, with its wealth, branding, and television power, is not a guaranteed shield. It exposed how fragile the ownership model can be when it's built on a single benefactor. It exposed how football clubs can operate like high-burn businesses without the financial controls that normally stop a company from doing that. And it forced uncomfortable questions. Who is allowed to own a club? How do leagues test owners? And how do you stop a club from gambling itself into extinction? In the years after Portsmouth, football did respond, but unevenly. UEFA rolled out financial fair play, trying to tether clubs to a break-even reality. England tightens rules in different places, and later moved toward a broader regulatory rethink. And the Premier League expanded parachute payments to soften relegation's financial cliff, because the cliff was one reason clubs overspend in panic. But every fix comes with trade-offs. Parachute payments can help stabilize relegated clubs, and can also widen the gap between those clubs and the rest of the division. And that brings us back to Portsmouth, because their story doesn't end in 2010. They go down multiple times. They suffer more turbulence, but they also become something rare in modern football, a symbol of supporters refusing to let a club die. For a period, fans take ownership and help rebuild the institution from the inside, not as a billionaire's asset, but as a community's inheritance. After bottoming out in League Two, the fourth tier, they started to climb back to the top, and now sit in the Championship, the second tier. Portsmouth's fall became a case study. Portsmouth's survival became a warning and a lesson. Because administration is not just a financial term. In football, administration is what happens when the romance outruns the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet finally speaks. So what do we take away from February 26, 2010? Three things. First, the Premier League is rich, but clubs can still be fragile. Wealth in the system doesn't guarantee prudence at the club level. And second, administration is football's hard reset, a legal attempt to rescue the club, paired with sporting punishment designed to stop clubs cheating the pain through overspending. And third, Portsmouth proved that a club is not its owners or its balance sheets. It's the bond between a place and its people. When that bond survives, the badge can survive too. On this day in 2010, Portsmouth became the Premier League's first club to enter administration, the moment English football learned that even at the richest table in the game, the bill still has to be paid. That's all for episode 118 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show, share it, and leave a rating. It generally helps more people find the pod. And if you want to tell me what club financial story I should cover next, you can reach me at otd@17lawsguy.com. Tomorrow, we go to February 27, 1977, and to the international debut of a 16-year-old Diego Maradona, the first spark of a wild, complicated, and unforgettable international career. See you then.